I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts. Our lesson for today, lesson 23 on January the 23rd of 2023 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students from the original edition. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Willie from the Ozarks. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. The idea for today contains the only way out of fear that will ever succeed. Nothing else will work. Everything else is meaningless. But this way cannot fail. Every thought you have makes up some segment of the world you see. It is with your thoughts, then, that we must work if your perception of the world is to be changed. We're working with our thoughts. If the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. There is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is merely an effect. But there is indeed a point in changing your thoughts about the world. Here you are changing the cause. The effect will change automatically. Wow, the cause of the world is your own thoughts. The world you see is a vengeful world, and everything in it is a symbol of vengeance. Each of your perceptions of external reality is a pictorial representation of your own attack thoughts. One can well ask if this can be called seeing. Is not fantasy a better word for such a process? And hallucination a more appropriate term for the result? You see the world which you have made, but you do not see yourself as the image maker. You cannot be saved from the world, but you can escape from its cause. This is what salvation means. For where is the world you see when its cause is gone? Vision already holds a replacement for everything you think you see now. Loveliness can light your images and so transform them that you will love them even though they were made of hate. For you will not be making them alone. The idea for today introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause can be changed. This change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go, so that it can be replaced. The first two steps in this process require your cooperation. The final one does not. The images have already been replaced. By taking the first two steps, you will see that this is so. So identify it and then change your thoughts. Let them go. Look at your attack thoughts and then let them go. That's your responsibility. Besides using it throughout the day, I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts can be used as a quick restorative when you feel tempted to be upset. Besides using it throughout the day as the need arises, 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. As you look about you, repeat the idea slowly to yourself, and then close your eyes and devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts as occur to you. As each one crosses your mind, say, I can escape the world by giving up attack thoughts about, and then name the attack thought, and then go on to the next. Hold each attack thought in mind as you say this. I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts. And then dismiss that thought and go on to the next. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You do not yet recognize this, and you are asked at this time only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We are still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally realize that thoughts of attack and being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. Let's read that again. You are still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally realize that thoughts of attack and of being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. We want to identify it and let it go so we can have a happy world. I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Okay, we'll come back and look at that here in a few minutes. Let's go take a look in our text reading now. And we're ready for, in Retraining the Mind, Chapter 3, Section 8, Judgment and the Authority Problem. He talks a lot about the authority problem. While you're turning there, let me tell you quickly about a Cherokee purple tomato. It's time to start your tomatoes. It's actually any time in January you can start tomatoes indoors, 10 to 12 weeks before your last frost. Cherokee purple. I like to get them started. I'm getting ready to and set them in the windowsills. A lot of people like to start them early in January, but any time in January is good as far as I'm concerned. Here in the Ozarks, Zone 6. Make alterations 10 to 12 weeks before your last frost, depending on where you live. Cherokee purple, I'm reading to you out of the Whole Seed Catalog from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, and it's an 80-day tomato, an old Cherokee Indian heirloom, pre-1890 variety. Beautiful, deep, dusky purple-pink color, superb sweet flavor, and very large-sized fruit. Try this one for real old-time tomato flavor, our favorite dark tomato, and one of our best-selling varieties. That's your Cherokee purple. Okay, let's go take a look now. I've given you an assignment yesterday. Did you find where that God created man in his own image and likeness? Well, it was out of Genesis 1:27. And an easy way to find that, by the way, is just put it into your Google search and put the word Bible and then read the quote. And generally, it'll come pretty close to getting you just what you're looking for. Okay, judgment and the authority problem. And I broke my glasses, have only one half of it, but I'm going to use them. I'm inside today, and a little better when I'm out in the sunlight. I don't need glasses, but in here, just a little bit better. Judgment and the authority problem. We have already discussed the last judgment in some, though insufficient, detail. After the last judgment, there will be no more. This is symbolic only in the sense that everyone is much better off without judgment. When the Bible says, "Judge not that you be not judged," and that was in Matthew 7:1, it merely means that if you judge the reality of others at all, you will be unable to avoid judging your own. The choice to judge rather than to know was the cause of the loss of peace. The choice to judge rather than to know was the cause of the loss of peace. The choice to judge rather than to know is the cause of the loss of peace. Judgment is the process on which perception, but not cognition, rests. We have discussed this before in terms of the selectivity of perception, pointing out that evaluation is its obvious prerequisite. Judgment always involves rejection. It is not an ability which emphasizes only the positive aspects of what is judged, whether it be in or out of the self. However, what has been perceived and rejected or judged and found wanting remains in the unconscious because it has been perceived. Of the illusions from which man suffers is the belief that what he judged against has no effect. One of the illusions from which man suffers is the belief that what he judges against has no effect. Boy, that sure does speak of our lesson today. About attack thoughts are the cause of the world we see, and we can escape the world by giving them up. This cannot be true unless he also believes that what he judges against does not exist. Let's read that again. One of the illusions from which man suffers is the belief that what he judges against has no effect. This cannot be true unless he also believes that what he judges against does not exist. He evidently does not believe this, or he would not have judged against it. It does not matter in the end whether you judge it right or wrong. Either way, you're placing your belief in the unreal. This cannot be avoided in any type of judgment because it implies the belief that reality is yours to choose from. Paragraph 63. You have no idea of the tremendous release and deep peace that comes from meeting yourselves and your brothers totally without judgment. Let's read that one again. You have no idea of the tremendous release and deep peace that comes from meeting yourselves and your brothers totally without judgment. When you recognize what you and your brothers are, you will realize that judging them in any way is without meaning. In fact, their meaning is lost to you precisely because you are judging them. All uncertainty comes from a totally fallacious belief that you are under the coercion of judgment. You do not need judgment to organize your life, and you certainly do not need it to organize yourselves. In the presence of knowledge, all judgment is automatically suspended. And this is the process which enables recognition to replace perception. 64. Man is very fearful of everything he has perceived but has refused to accept. He believes that because he has refused to accept it, he has lost control over it. This is why he sees it in nightmares and in pleasant disguises in what seem to be his happier dreams. Nothing that you have refused to accept can be brought into awareness. It does not follow that it is dangerous, but it does follow that you have made it dangerous. 65. When you feel tired, it is merely because you have judged yourself as capable of being tired. Whoa. When you feel tired, it is merely because you have judged yourself as capable of being tired. When you laugh at someone, it is because you have judged him as debased. When you laugh at yourself, you are singularly likely to laugh at others, if only because you cannot tolerate the idea of being more debased than they are. All of this does make you feel tired because it is essentially disheartening. You are not really capable of being tired, but you are very capable of wearying yourselves. The strain of constant judgment is virtually intolerable. It is a curious thing that any ability which is so debilitating should be so deeply cherished. Yet if you would, paragraph 66, I like that when he says it is a curious thing that any ability which is so debilitating should be so deeply cherished. To be judging. Paragraph 66. Yet if you wish to be the author of reality, which is totally impossible anyway, you will insist on holding on to judgment. You will also use the term with considerable fear, believing that judgment will someday be used against you. To whatever extent it is used against you, it is due only to your belief in its efficacy as a weapon of defense for your own authority. And efficacy, the ability to produce a desired or intended result. It's an effect. To whatever extent it is used against you, it is due only to your belief in its efficacy as a weapon of defense for your own authority. The issue of authority is really a question of authorship. When an individual has any authority problem, it is always because he believes he is the author of himself, projects his delusion onto others, and then perceives the situation as one in which people are literally fighting him for his authorship. This is the fundamental error of all those who believe they have usurped the power of God. The belief, paragraph 67, the belief is very frightening to them, but hardly troubles God. The belief is very frightening to them, but hardly troubles God. He is, however, eager to undo it, not to punish his children, but only because he knows that it makes them unhappy. Wow, isn't that a beautiful reason to let go of judgment and follow your guidance instead of the mechanics of the mind, the ego, the world of perception? The belief is frightening to them, but hardly troubles God. He is, however, eager to undo it, not to punish his children, but only because he knows that it makes them unhappy. Souls were given their true authorship, but men preferred to be anonymous when they chose to separate themselves from their author. The word authority has been one of the most fearful symbols ever since. Authority has been used for great cruelty because, being uncertain of their true authorship, men believed that their creation was anonymous. This has left them in a position where it sounds meaningful to consider the possibility that they must have created themselves. Paragraph 68. The dispute over authorship has left such uncertainty in the minds of men that some have even doubted whether they really exist at all. Despite the apparent contradiction in this position, it is in one sense more tenable than the view that they created themselves. At least it acknowledges the fact that some true authorship is necessary for existence. 69. Only those who give over all desire to reject can know that their own rejection is impossible. Listen to that one again. Only those who give over all desire to reject or to judge can know that their own rejection is impossible. You have not usurped the power of God, but you have lost it. Fortunately, when you lose something, it does not mean that the something has gone. It merely means that you do not know where it is. Existence does not depend on your ability to identify it, nor even to place it. It is perfectly possible to look on reality without judgment and merely know that it is there. 70. Peace is a natural heritage of the soul. Everyone is free to refuse to accept his inheritance, but he is not free to establish what his inheritance is. The problem which everyone must decide is the fundamental question of authorship. All fear comes ultimately, and sometimes by way of very devious routes, from the denial of authorship. The offense is never to God, but only to those who deny him. To deny his authorship is to deny themselves the reason for their own peace, so that they see themselves only in pieces, separated, This strange perception is the authority problem. And the last paragraph, 71, there is no man who does not feel that he is imprisoned in some way. If this is the result of his own free will, he must regard his will as if it were not free, or the obviously circular reasoning involved in his position would be quite apparent. Free will must lead to freedom. Free will must lead to freedom. Judgment always imprisons because it separates segments of reality according to the highly unstable scales of desire. Wishes are not facts by definition. To wish is to imply that willing is not sufficient. Yet no one believes that what is wished is as real as what is willed. Instead of seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, which is a quote out of Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, say, will ye first the kingdom of heaven? And you have said, I know what I am, and I will to accept my own inheritance. Okay, well, let's take a look at, or let's go back here before we sing. How's our time doing? Okay, it looks like we're doing okay. Let's take just a minute to recap what we're going to do today on our lesson. It's you're going to start off with your eyes open, look around, and say, I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Then you're going to close your eyes and you're going to view your internal landscape, and you're going to look at the thoughts that go by, and you're going to try to step back away from them and just watch them go by like an odd procession, like a parade of marching bands going by, and look at each thought. And after you've looked at thoughts, particularly root out the ones that have to do with attack. Anything that looks, and that can, he says it can come by very devious ways. So anything that makes you unhappy is a suitable subject. And look at it and say, but I can escape the world by giving up attack thoughts. Okay, so, and we're going to do this, he says 4 or 5 times today, doesn't he? The idea for today introduces the thought that you are not trapped in the world you see because its cause can be changed. This change requires first that the cause be identified and then let go so that it can be replaced. The first 2 steps in this process require your cooperation. Okay, so the cause must be identified, that's number 1, and then let go. Those are the 2 things that you can do and must do so that it can be replaced. These first 2 steps in this process require your cooperation. The final one does not. God does it. Your images have already been replaced. By taking the first 2 steps, you will see that this is so. You're going to get to see the real world where God's the authority or the author. Besides using it throughout the day as the need arises, 5 practice periods are required in applying today's idea. As you look about you, repeat the idea slowly to yourself and then close your eyes and devote about a minute to searching your mind for as many attack thoughts as occur to you. As each one comes, or as each one crosses your mind, say, I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts about, and then name them. And when we sing our song here in just a minute, you can do that very thing. And I'll give you a little time during the song where you can look at your thoughts and then apply what I'm singing. I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts about. Hold each thought in mind as you say this, and then dismiss the thought and go on to the next attack thought. In the practice periods, be sure to include both your thoughts of attacking and of being attacked. Their effects are exactly the same because they are exactly the same. You do not recognize this, and you are asked at this time only to treat them as the same in today's practice periods. We are still at the stage of identifying the cause of the world you see. When you finally realize that thoughts of attack and of being attacked are not different, you will be ready to let the cause go. All right. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. Escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts about I can escape from the world by giving up by giving up attack thoughts about me. I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts about me. I can escape from the world by giving up attack thoughts about a car wreck or whatever fears you, whatever you think you need to be attacking, whatever you think you can be attacked by, whatever you think you are attacking. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape the world by giving up attack thoughts. Let's give up all of our attack thoughts and escape the world of perception and enter the world of where God's in charge, the true authority for life. Peace. I can escape the world I see by giving up attack thoughts.